Hey, good morning, everyone. Sorry about that. Good morning, everyone. Dennis Kaye here with Belize Islands Real Estate. It is, let's see, it's Thursday, December 23rd. I'm just up this morning having a coffee and putting the final touches on our upcoming plans for Belize. It's been way too long since Steph and I set foot on Ambergris Caye due to COVID and other things. So we are supposed to be flying in next Saturday, January 1st, and we just can't wait to get there. One of the things that we're going to be looking at for ourselves, first of all, and also for our clients, is additional property holdings and investments. And if you guys have been following my channel for any length of time, you know that when we buy a property or when my clients buy a property, they do so with a certain end game in mind. So that end game might be, hey, in 5 years, I'm going to retire to Belize. So I'm going to look for a property now in an area that I like at a price point that I can afford. And I'm going to buy this property with the goal that in 5 years, I'm going to build a home, retire, have a vacation home, build something as an investment property like an Airbnb. That time frame might be 10 years out, 15 years out, 20 years out, doesn't matter. But that's one typical scenario. Another scenario is for my investors, especially those investing with either their personal funds or funds they have in their IRA, is looking for areas of the island, what I term that are in the path of progress. In other words, they're not in the center of an area that's already fully developed, where there's not much potential for capital appreciation, but they're located in an area that most likely has a good reason to go up in value because the progress is heading in that direction. And when we look at that, especially in a country like Belize and in a place like Ambergris Caye, there are different types of areas that have the potential to appreciate, really just depending on if it's attached, so to speak, to an existing area that's already developed, or if it's a completely different area that might grow on its own, either into a new town or maybe even a new village. And so, what we're going to be doing when we get down there is looking at a couple of these potential sites that I think really have some interesting aspects to them when it comes to making a financial investment. So there's a difference. Either you're looking for an investment in lifestyle. In that case, maybe one type of property might work well for you. If you're looking to make a financial investment, then maybe it's a completely different set of criteria that you should be looking at. And so, what do I mean by that? Well, as an example, if we pull up my Google Earth overlay map, I'm going to show you a couple different things. For example, regarding Secret Beach and going north, Margaritaville area, even going a little bit further north of that. Let me just kind of pull up here the overview. Oops, is this showing? All right, very good. So you can see here the Google Earth. You see Mexico's up here. Guatemala is to the west of Belize. Honduras here is to the south. Here is Belize right here. Small country. Belize has two components: the mainland component and also the islands of Belize, which are offshore. And stick with me on this video because I want to show you some interesting things regarding both areas. So, for example, when we look at the mainland of Belize, all right, and first of all, we go to the Corazon area. Right now, the border is still closed between uh, Mexico here and Corazon and Belize, rather. So, for those of you looking to cross this land border, I believe it's still closed. They had plans to open it up on the first, but I think those plans have changed, the Omicron variant. So, anyway, in normal times, you could drive or take a bus from Cancun or Playa del Carmen or Tulum down this highway, end up here at Chenabal, cross the border, and come into Corazon. Now, Corazon is a well-established town. It's of decent size. If you watch my videos for any length of time, you know that I don't think there's a whole lot there that's attractive to a lot of people. But it is a town, and cost of living is quite low there. And some might find that that's their nice low budget retirement spot. Um, but what is interesting is there are these little tiny villages that sort of sit on their own apart from Corazon. So, for example, out here you have Sartaneja. So let me kind of zoom in. Sartaneja, you see you have this road leads from Corazon out to Sartaneja. And that's a very, very small village, standalone village. It's got its own little, uniqueness to it. Kind of Get in here a little bit more. So you see, it's a little community here of people that live out there. Very quiet, not a whole lot going on, but it's completely detached, so to speak, from Corozal. In other words, people don't buy here saying, "Oh, I need to go to Corozal 3 times a week for groceries or to restaurants or whatever." They buy in here because this is a little self-sufficient village. Now, another example of something like this, I'm going to show you a little bit how this applies to Ambergris Caye. But first of all, let's head down south to Placencia. So if you go down to Placencia area, you have Placencia on this peninsula right here. So Placencia is probably one of the most popular, if not the most popular spot on the mainland for retirees, expats, those looking to be on the water, close to the water, but having a mainland component. So the real estate here is very different than an Ambergris Caye. It's not better or worse or good or bad. It's just different. So for example, Steph and I love the Placencia area, but then once you go outside of Placencia, you come up here a little bit, and you're going to hit this little village called Hopkins. Where is it here? I think it's right there. Yeah, there we go. So you have this little village, this little stand on its own village here, basically in the middle of nowhere. It's not anywhere near Placencia. It doesn't rely on Placencia for its infrastructure, so to speak. So nobody says when they buy in Hopkins, well, how far is it from Placencia? It doesn't really matter. It's just not part of the community. They're two separate communities. But for example, if we do, we just kind of draw a line here, see how far it is. So it's 24 miles from Placencia. So again, nobody buys in Hopkins thinking, well, I want to be close to Placencia. If they did, they'd just be buying in Placencia or Same Bite or somewhere in here. So let me show you how now this goes into Ambergris Caye and how I take a look at investments for personal use, for the lifestyle investment, as compared to the strictly the financial, or maybe having a long-term goal regarding both. So, oops, went up a little too far. We're all the way up to Playa del Carmen. There we go, Ambergris Caye. All right, so Ambergris Caye. So historically, everything has been referenced from San Pedro town, which is right here. And if you notice, San Pedro town makes up a very, very small portion of the island. In fact, it's cramped, it's crowded, it can't grow anymore. It's absolutely built out. And then over the years, development has gone north and south of there. So we have the Mahogany Bay Village project here, going all the way down to the tip of the island. La Serena is being built down there. So you have the South Ambergris Caye neighborhood. And so if you're buying down here, you might logically ask the question, well, how far is it to San Pedro, right? You just want to know. So it's, 3.5, 4.5, 5 miles from here up to San Pedro. Now, going over to the Secret Beach area, right now, people still ask the question, how far a drive is it to San Pedro town? Because that's where they feel they need to go for grocery stores, shopping, all that kind of good stuff. And, there are grocery stores, tons of restaurants, all kinds of stuff on the North Coast. So right now, nobody has to go into San Pedro, but San Pedro still is pretty much the core of the island. What's going to happen though, when you look at Secret Beach, look at how large this area is. This is going to be its own town center. So I would predict within the next, I would say 4 to 5 to 6 years, with the amount of activity that's going to go in here, that nobody's going to ask any longer how far is it to San Pedro, because this community will grow large enough to stand on its own. And then over the next probably 7 to 10 years, this is going to be the next town. So if you own here, live here, you probably would never go into San Pedro. You would not have a reason to, because everything that you would need is right here, right? So now what we're going to do is there are different pockets of the island that also are going to be like standalone neighborhoods. So they're not going to be a big town like this. They're not going to be reliant on Secret Beach as a town or San Pedro as a town. They're going to be its own little pocket of a community, like Hopkins or like Sarceneja. And so for that, we're going to be going to look at some of these areas up in here, some of these areas up just north of Margaritaville. So right now, a very interesting area that we're going to take a look at is this area here up past Rocky Point. Now, right now, typically, I have not invested in this area just due to access issue. There are some good deals. In fact, I'm looking at some good deals myself. But right now, because of access, there's no roads that go past here. And to get up and around this Rocky Point tip, you have to take a boat. It's a very long ride. It's like, 18, 19, 20 miles up to get up in this area. But what has us really interested in is the potential for this little area here to grow to become its own little village. All right. And the reason why we're taking a look at it seriously now this time is because we're taking a look at what is the interest or what is the potential for growth in this area. So let me show you a couple things on my. Let's see, this comes up okay. All right, very good. So the Prime Minister of Belize made this announcement on October 14th that again, and this is not new. They've been looking at this, for some time. This is not the first mention of this, but they're looking at the potential to have a road that would connect Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, go all the way down, scooch over to the Caribbean seaside, because right now the road goes inland. There's Mahawal up here. It goes inland over to Chenamal, but they're looking at extending the road that goes from Skilak, which I'll show where that is, and then cross right over into North Ambergris Caye. And he talks about that extensively on here. So this road will be called the Tren Maya route. It's meant to help people to really explore this entire area of Mexico and North Ambergris Caye. And so that's the government's intention. They've stated this now a couple times. And there's a lot of reasons for this, right? And it's probably going to be met with controversy, like most new development is. And one of the things that's very interesting up there is there's this very large Bacalar Chico National Park and Marine Reserve that is actually a United Nations World Heritage Site. If you want to read about that, you can go to this website, ambergriscaye.com, look for Bacalar, and this will tell you all about it. But this is a really beautiful area. There's a lot of natural wildlife up in there. But the entire area is not a national park and marine reserve. What they've done is they've allowed just some of the beachfront to be developed and subdivided, and those would be the areas that we would be looking at. And really, things like this. So, for example, we talked about the potential for an international airport up there in the future. The government is still looking at that, still going to be pursuing that. The reason is they want to get the focus out of the overbuilt, overdeveloped San Pedro area and into some of these other areas to sort of spread that out, spread out the tourism, spread out the people when they come. And there's a very interesting article that I just came across in a farm magazine about Iceland. You want to look this up, go to seontraveler.com. And Iceland is doing the same thing. Iceland wants their tourists to come into the island, but then go and explore and stay and spend time at some of these more remote areas. All right. So what they're doing is they're offering incentives. They are doing things to help people to go to different parts of the island, to spread out. And what I find really interesting is the potential now to have a little community up there. And I think it's going to happen. So what I would let me get down there. First of all, let me get down there first because I want to personally take a boat up there, walk the beach. But first of all, if you want to see something really cool, this area of the island, I've been up here several times in the past. Been up there snorkeling, went through the cut that separates Mexico from Belize. It's a little hand dug Mayan channel there. But let me just do one more thing for you before you go. Let me just go here, open up a new tab, and I'll type in Bacalar Chico National Park Belize, and just take a look at these pictures. It is absolutely pristine. The waters up here are the most amazing waters. The snorkeling is up there. The diving, the fishing is just incredible. It's such a pristine part of the island. This is part of the channel here that separates Mexico from Belize. Been up here several times. What do I want to show you? I'm going to show you one of the maps so you kind of understand the lay of the land and what we're going to be checking out. Let's see here. Where is a good map of the National Park and Marine Reserve? Yeah, maybe this one will come up. All right, so I don't know if you guys can see that too well, but this is the northern tip of Ambergris Caye. So a large portion of it is set aside for National Park and Marine Reserve. That's all in here. So there's two components. There's the island component, the land component, and there's also the water component, the marine component. But up in this area right here, there's quite a bit of opportunity for development that can be purchased and fully owned. I'm looking at the potential up there right now to, maybe secure some investments for myself, some other clients. And there's a couple ways to get up there. Again, we can take a boat and go with the reef side, but what we'll probably do is take a boat from Secret Beach and go up and around this area and check out some of the developments up there. So I will keep you posted on that. If you might be interested, let me know because if I do something, I will be going public with the information here just as soon as I can. If you're interested in doing something up in that area, either as a buy and hold for long term as an investment, or if you're younger, if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and you just want to get a foothold on the island so that you have something when the time comes, and you think a little plot of land up there might work for you as a long term hold and investment, maybe a place to retire in the future, or here's another good idea. If you are a current property owner on Ambergris Caye, in your 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever the case might be, and you have kids or grandkids, this might be a unique opportunity for them. So maybe right now, if you're in your 60s, you're retired, all right, you're living on Ambergris Caye, you got a couple of grown adult children, maybe they're raising kids, and they don't have the circumstances now to come down and do something in Belize. Because you know what, as part of your inheritance, here's a property. Thanks for being a great son or daughter. Here's your property. It's up in this remote part of Ambergris Caye. In 15 years, you want to do something with it, fine. If you don't, sell it. But whatever it is, here's part of your inheritance, or the grandkids. Get the grandkids their property. Anyway, those are my thoughts. And yeah, we're just really excited to get down there and see what's going on. So, listen, a lot of you have been reaching out to me, and we're looking forward to meeting as many of you as possible. And if you would like me to take, again, video pictures, get more information on any particular development or area of the island, let me know. I'd be happy to do that as the time allows. And yeah, be safe, everyone, and looking forward to seeing you soon. Take care.